It's been 5 years. 5 years of watching the relationship between these two gods blossom. And it's all been culminating to this weekend. Now, whether you've been reading since the very beginning 5 years ago, or just picked it up yesterday, these two gods have gone through a lot to get to this point. Misunderstandings, miscommunications, toxic relationships, and whatever else. Even the hardest of hardcore fans might have forgotten a moment or two. So that's why we're here, to go through their entire story, to get you guys ready for the major turning points happening this weekend. Now, we could start at the beginning of the series, but that's boring and not very organic. So let's do this chronologically. First, we should start with the gods of the hour, Hades and Persephone. Hades was born thousands of years ago to Titans Rhea and Kronos. Rhea was seemingly a loving mother, but Kronos feared his children would overthrow him the way he did to his father, choosing to eat and entrap his son in his stomach. Eventually was freed by his brother Zeus and were able to overthrow Kronos with the help of the Six Traitor dynasty. After the war, and because Zeus was jealous, Hades was sent down to be the king of the underworld. And after eating a pomegranate and becoming the king, he didn't exactly have a lot of time to start dating, or at least to date anyone worth dating. I'll get back to you, Minty. Anyways, after a few thousand years or so, one of the Six Traitor dynasty, Demeter, wanted a child of her own, making Persephone. After being born, Persephone was blessed by a bunch of different goddesses, but the most interesting one was by Eris, the goddess of discord, a blessing of wrath done in secrets, causing her endless ambition, but also causing her to one day snap, when her helicopter of a mother pushes her too far, and when mortals start to kill her flower nymph friends, she starts blasting. After a slightly elaborate cover-up, this is actually when these two lovebirds first meet. One day, Hades goes on a bender, crashing in the mortal realm to hang out with his right-hand man, Hecate. But while drunk alone, Persephone approaches him, asking if there's any way to bring a mortal back to life. After Hades regretfully informs her that there is no way and attempts to comfort her in this fact, this is when Demeter starts to approach, and when Persephone escapes out a window. Hades asks Demeter who the beautiful pink goddess was, making Demeter pull out the vodka, getting him blackout drunk, forgetting the entire night. Which is when the series actually begins. Persephone is given the freedom to go to school at Olympus, rooming with Artemis, and both our gods head to Zeus's party, which is where Hades sees her for the first time, not drunk out of his mind. When he goes to flirt with her, she disappears, as someone pulls a trick out of Demeter's bag, getting Persephone drunk and placing her in Hades' car, under the assumption that it would make Hades think she's gross and make Persephone think he's weird. It did not work, only inspiring a lovely talk about dogs and some nosy reporter taking shots of Hades and this mysterious pink nymph. Hades drops her off at Artemis's, saying goodbye for what he thinks will be the last time, but oh dear friends, we know it's not. After a shopping trip, a brunch, and a meeting with the worst person in the series, and having him do some terrible things, Hades and Persephone have a long phone call. Persephone needing some much needed comforts, having so many things being different and feeling unneeded in the world, even getting to ask Hades some personal questions, like about his kingdom and his marriage life. Though in exchange, Hades gets an IOU for one personal question, which does come in handy much later in the series. Anyways, after talking all night, Persephone meets with Hera, who sends Persephone down to work alongside Hades, as a sort of test to see if Hades is worthy of her. As Persephone heads to her first day of work, she encounters Minty for the first time, and fine, I'll talk about her. Minty she's Hades' you know what, I'm not sure. They're not really dating yet, but they kind of are. They're friends with benefits if friends are constantly toxic towards each other, while one friend pretends to be better and trashes the other friend all the time. Yeah, Minty is not exactly a great partner. Incredibly toxic and belittling towards Hades, but also weirdly jealous whenever Hades interacts with others. Like the article that shows Hades and a mysterious flower nymph. So much so that Minty sends Persephone to a dangerous spot in the underworld core, causing Hades to fly in and save her from some nasty shades. Flying her back inside, Hades realizes that he's too much trouble for Persephone, that he would only ruin her life with all his baggage. And after a nice little chat and a game of chess, Persephone becomes the newest intern, much to Hades' chagrin. But at least he gets to tease her a little bit, and drive her home, much to Apollo's chagrin. What a fun word to say. Anyways, after Hades freaks out about having a crush, and Minty tries, and actually weirdly succeeds on getting him back, Hades hires some people to track down and rough up the reporter who printed an article about Persephone, ripping out his eye. out of love. Speaking of love, on Persephone's official first day, after the whole, being led astray by Minty, being attacked by strays, whatever, she brings Hades a gift, but unfortunately he rejects it, and after gets kissed by Minty right in front of Persephone. Minty's attempts to make her jealous do work quite a bit, which is also when Hecate asks Hades to finish Persephone's tour. Now their relationship here is in a weird spot. Hades doesn't want to get close to Persephone. He's afraid of her. He's in love with her, but doesn't want to ruin her, and doesn't think she's interested in him, and vice versa. She thinks that she's just this dumb village girl that Hades could never be interested in. This is kind of important, because they're both incredibly awkward towards each other, but want to be the best around each other. But this also causes both of them to be kind of distant. We see this during the tour. Hades isn't exactly the friendliest at first, afraid of getting too close, but Persephone wears him down, even reminding him of himself. And by the end, they're practically walking arm in arm, even offering his services to whenever she's in need. Anyways, Persephone has an emotional journey with Eros, realizing her pain, and Minty proves yet again that she's a terrible partner by standing up Hades' home-cooked meal. God, what I would give for Hades' home-cooked meals. Hades ends up getting drunk, eats Persephone's baklava, and reads a letter where she talks about meeting Hades for the first time, to which he freaks out. After an adorable little phone call about butt dialing, Persephone's plan to go out on her own, and Hades getting a tape from the past, literally seeing the past, actually the first time they met. Minty proving yet again that she sucks, but this gives Hera an opportunity to test Hades, and I mean test Hades. But when Hades refuses her kiss, Hera realizes that they're good for each other, and also tricks Hades into a dinner with Persephone, and a bit after, a genuinely sweet conversation about home and being yourself. Meanwhile, Persephone's classmates start to distance themselves because of the whole, Hades ripping out someone's eye for slandering Persephone. And while mad, they have an open and honest conversation about boundaries and what their feelings are, and also, to put the eye back in. Both later distance themselves from incredibly toxic people in their lives and celebrate a birthday at a bank. Persephone slips down to the underworld where mortals first come when they die to try to help some mortals out because she feels guilty about the whole murdering a bunch of mortals back then, but when she tries, she causes a riot of souls. And during a quick fight about what she was doing and the first kiss of the series, yeah! She turns into butterflies and runs away on accident. Later, what I consider much cuter though, when Persephone summons Hades to ask for comfort and really just to talk and hang out, which is very cute. After a whole day of hanging out, Persephone runs into Apollo, who basically blackmails her, and Hades finally sees that tape from the past, but it's too late, kind of, as these three idiots snitched on Persephone to Zeus. But Persephone is on the run from Apollo, and apparently also the law, as Zeus has issued a warrant for her arrest. Luckily, it doesn't take Hades long to find her, as she crashes in the underworld, finding her freezing in a dump. Hades then seeks the truth about what happened all those years back, and they share in some really nice moments of vulnerability, sharing the tape in the past, and Hades explaining the grief and trauma he's had to endure being in his father's stomach. Basically, them saying that they're in each other's corner is very nice, very sweet, but this is also when Hades stands up to Zeus's warrants. They become a very strong power couple, working, living, and hitting diamonds with golf clubs off roofs, which is very upper class of them. Anyways, after cursing Minty to become an actual plant, a family reunion, and some much needed therapy, it's trial time, baby! Hades becomes Persephone's defense attorney, calls her wife, which is great, learns some terrible things that Apollo did to her, they chill in the countryside for a bit, and when the verdict is being cast, Eris, the goddess of discord, drops the bomb that Persephone was blessed by wrath. Zeus panics, banishes both Persephone and Demeter to the mortal realm, cutting all ties between the three realms. And as they share one last kiss, the verdict goes into effect for 10 years. When Zeus still doesn't open the realms, and Cerberus comes into the mortal realm injured, causing Persephone to venture into the underworld since everything is a mess. As Kronos has gained enough power to knock out all of the 6th traitor dynasty except for Zeus, and using Hades' body to move around to do stuff, weakening the seal on Kronos to eventually escape. But Persephone decides to go to sleep herself and infiltrate Hades' dreams to wake him up. After a terrifying dream of her and Apollo being married, we enter Hades' dream, a bittersweet dream where he's happily married with kids to Persephone. Kronos escapes to the real world where Persephone eats the pomegranate, becoming the queen of the underworld, sealing him back away in Tartarus where the two reunite and share another kiss. The two are reunited, and while they're king and queen, they're just dating, doing all the things you normally do while dating, like dancing to repair the entire underworld from its disastrous state. But it's not all sunshine and roses, as Demeter is there to try her best to stop this relationship, and Hera does the complete opposite and questions when Hades is gonna propose. After some good old-fashioned communication and some more amorous topics and a date with Ares, don't ask, we arrive to our most recent chapter, where Demeter is holding an intervention for Persephone, trapping Hades, who's a moth, yet again don't ask, and emotionally manipulating Persephone to stay in the mortal realm and to ditch that loser Hades. All leading up to this week's chapter. Oh boy, that's so much. While writing this, I realized I couldn't really do what I wanted to set out to do in the first place. I really wanted to perfectly encapture these two's relationship while hitting every major important point, and even some that aren't important but lead to stuff, but I realized I couldn't. I mentioned every single point that I could that happens between these two, and even some that don't, but each moment that these two share together is so weirdly more emotional and special than me writing one line down could ever entail. Like, the love they have for each other is just so well written, I doubt I could ever put it to paper. I wanted to explain their entire relationship heading to this weekend, but I don't think you need that. I think all you need going into this weekend is that these two gods fell in love. And through heartbreak, through abuse, through jealousy, through fighting with a titan that controls time itself somehow, they'll still keep loving each other. So please make sure you read Lore Olympus, updating every week on Webtoon.